this Consortium of Herbaria and who we are and what we do and why all of you are here. So we have 16 herbaria across the state of South Carolina. And Avery and I have been trying to make an attempt to reach all of them. And so that is why we have sent you guys emails and called you guys in phone calls, because we want to get you all in one room so we can talk to you and collaborate. And what I really like about this map right here is that we have herbaria spread across the entire state. This is really important because each herbaria holds valuable plant information, and they're represented, all the ecoregions are represented from the Blue Ridge Mountains down to the coastal zone. Of course, you guys, I don't know if you all attended, that Symbiota portal is unfortunately down, so these are old statistics, but I just want to give you a picture of the specimens digitized. So we have 203,390 specimens digitized in South Carolina. Avery and I do have an ambitious project to work on duplicate linking, hopefully in the future, using notes from nature to get some data transcribed. So this number is not the unique specimens, these are just the number of specimens digitized. And of those specimens, 181,141 specimens are from South Carolina. So what that tells us is the majority of South Carolina specimens are housed in South Carolina. Unfortunately, again, these statistics are a little bit old, but this is just to give you a picture of the size of the herbaria across the state. I was able to grab some of the data because of the portal shutdown. USCH, so Barrett Brown, has the most specimens at this point. And then this is showing you how many of those specimens are from South Carolina or from elsewhere. So I like this because we do want to have specimens in South Carolina, duplicates of specimens from North Carolina or Georgia. Botany does not know borders. So having those specimens for us to be able to compare and look at is really important. Also, I do know USCH has a lot of European specimens as well, and South American specimens, which are also helpful when you're looking at some other specimens you're trying to compare. So here's a chloropleth of the digitized specimens. So basically the darker color means that there are more specimens digitized in that county. So this could be a little bit skewed because we're not 100% sure of the duplicates, but the point is there are a lot of specimens in Richland County, there are a lot of specimens on the coast and the mountains. The mountains in South Carolina are really interesting. I've been talking to Climate here at DNR, which is one of the perks of working for DNR is having that close relationship, about them sharing the rainfall data. So the area up there has so much rainfall that it almost falls under subtropical. So there are some really unique and interesting bryophytes and lichens and vascular plants up in that area. It's also very beautiful. There's a lot of preserved land, so there's been a lot of botanical work that has been done there. Richland County, we know, has a lot because University of South Carolina and some of the people are doing research. And then of course the coast. I really do hope to get more data from the lighter colors at some point, so that we can get a more complete picture of the entire state. So I just want to give a little bit of background about what I do, because I think I've been emailing you guys a lot, and I know about your collections, but you might not know what I do. So my job is to search for occurrences of rare and tracked plants, but I also compile data on flora of the entire state for ranking purposes. So when I'm talking about an occurrence, I'm talking about an observation of the population on a unique date and location. Now, as I mentioned before about duplicates, there's an occurrence, but we also, what I was really showing you was records. So it's a database representation of all or part of the occurrence. And so we've got a lot of different types of records that we are dealing with. We're dealing with observations, so those can be like what Elena scanning files where someone has submitted, like for Pittman or Douglas Rayner, a survey report. Sometimes they can be a text message like, hey, I found this plant and I'm hoping to get one of those from botanical garden when they're searching for Magnolia pyramidata. Little photo, here it is, new record. But also it can be survey reports. People sometimes will compile data and publish them in literature. Obviously, iNaturalist is a huge player now because so many people are using the citizen science app. All of the curators you have got packed in your bags, the little brochures. Those brochures are for iNaturalist. We have a citizen science project. It's really important because unfortunately the way iNaturalist works, we don't get you can't see the coordinates of the protected plants, even though we're a state agency. So we had to create an iNaturalist project where people have to trust the coordinates. So please take these pamphlets back. We made them for you guys to hand out, and they will hopefully will help people join our project and share their coordinates. But of course, one of the biggest places that we get data is from you guys, from the curators, from specimens. And that's because they didn't have iNaturalist in 1887. They had Herbaria. So they collected and deposited, and so that's where we have a lot of our historical records from, which is why we want to see them. Oftentimes, we have a lot of fun georeferencing those specimens because you have to go back in time and find some old maps and figure out exactly where they were. So what do we do with all of this data? So we basically go through, we take all this data and we put it together into one record in our database. So that means, we put, sometimes there will be a herbarium specimen, but someone took an iNaturalist picture of it. So Hannah uses iNaturalist in the field, and so then she can link her iNaturalist records to herbarium specimens, so it has the habitat photos. But now there are two records online, but it's representing one occurrence. So what we do is we distill this. So how does Cernac and Symbiota and Herbaria fit into this? So I batch pull data from Darwin Core Archive, and then I have a differencing table and I cross-check to see whenever there are new specimens, newly digitized specimens, newly added and mounted specimens, to see if there's anything new. And then I fold it into our data portal. From the botanist side, Eric is really great at updated determinations. He is always leaving comments, and I remember the last count. I think Avery, you were saying it was like 100 or something. Yeah. So he's really good at taking a picture and sending updates and determinations. We also use Cernac a lot to do quick search for the specimen label. Sometimes not everything is digitized, and so we want to see what's actually on the label itself and follow up. And we can also check and update phenology. We look for data on species that we're thinking of tracking. Why do we do this? So we've built this entire database, we've put all these occurrences together of all of these plants. What are we doing with them? The team does a lot with them. So we assign conservation priorities. Sam, Eric, and Keith have done a lot of ranking. We got over 85% of the species ranked. This I think it was by April. So all these conservation rankings are going to NatureServe, so they can start assigning global ranks based on the state ranks. It's identifying invasives. Recently, they just published a new invasive list for South Carolina. It also gives us information on species distributions. We also use it for ecosystem classifications. But the big main thing, sorry, this is in the way, is what we use it for is here for Heritage Trust is land acquisition. So we are looking for high quality land that we can acquire and protect and manage. Some other things, statewide plant conservation, environmental review, as I mentioned, global ranks, heritage preserve management. We go out to heritage preserves, follow up on records, or we gather data on the records, and then we can communicate with the land manager and tell them, here's what's going on, here are these rare plants, this is what you need to look out for, this is how you should manage the land so that they are happy and healthy. And of course, our species track list for the state. which we went from 600 or 700 up to almost 1,300 tracked species once all the conservation rankings were done. So that is new and it should be reflected on the portal soon. So this is what I do. So how Avery and I got involved with this is that I'm trying to pull clean data, and the Herbaria wants data standards to reduce training load. So you guys are all familiar with this, especially at USCH. Every semester there's a new student, and then you have to train the new student on how to enter data, and Herbaria Lake will have all of these little quirks. And so even though there are specific fields, like let's just take name, for example, you can do last name, first name, or you can do just write exactly verbatim how it appears in the label. You can go and figure out what their actual name is, because sometimes people just put initials. So the question was, what are some standards that we can develop so that the students don't have to constantly ask and be retrained, which we do want them to ask, but so they don't have to be retrained constantly. So we worked together to create these standards, but part of that is that we didn't just want to hear our opinion, we wanted to hear everybody's opinion. So that's why we have these data standards meetings all throughout the years, that we can hear your opinion. And Avery and I will be doing a version of that again today. That is on the agenda. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Avery.
So this is a question we've got a couple times from people, which is, how is SC Consortium different from the Society of Herbaria Curators Southeast chapter? For starters, we are South Carolina based, but we extend to other herbaria. They have a membership fee. It's not big, but small difference. We don't have that. We have a higher level of activity. We have multiple meetings a year. We assist new and established herbaria, for example, Coastal Carolina, who is in the process of digitizing their collections now. I think Michelle and Taylor are actually doing this online right now. We provide a lot of resources on our website for training volunteers and our data standards, other imaging guides, that kind of thing. And the majority of our meetings, we have open discussions to, like we said, cover data standards and our ideas on what is what we collectively think is the best way, or what makes sense to make this data more accessible to other people, especially for researchers who need it for their purposes. We also talk about problems that we have in the herbaria. Everyone knows, for example, NSF and that sort of thing right now. When we talk about the issues, we talk about people and how they're moving forward. So I would say those are our big differences. Society of Herbaria Curators is wonderful, but I think we could argue we have a little bit more activity and a little bit more of an open discussion. So Dr. John Hurd here was one of the first people who started gathering curators from around South Carolina back in 1993. Eric Brown recently, he worked on uniting the curators to start digitizing specimens and getting them online with lots of stuff with CERNEC back in 2009. We'll get some more updates from him later today regarding kind of the imaging process, getting started with that, and how things have progressed over time. We have Dia and Dave right here, who manage the mobile imaging unit that's moving around the state. And